Hello there, and I'm sorry I'm late, but on Friday we lost our geriatric old boy, our 18-year-old oldest cat Binker, unbeknownst to us and to him really, because up until Friday morning he had been in perfect health. He had a tumour, and for some reason it chose Friday morning to make him incredibly ill. And yeah, on the one hand I feel really grateful that we didn't watch him go slowly downhill, but on the other hand Friday was devastating. And anyway, I wanted to do my 10 favourite books of 2015 before it became completely irrelevant, and also do the Booktube Newbie Tag, because even though last year I did the 2015 reading challenge and posted a review of every book that I read, it wasn't sort of booktube related, and this year I want to sort of connect more with the booktube community and be a bit more booktubey, even though my channel is also a mental health channel. So yeah, doing the Booktube Newbie Tag just to introduce myself to the community. And yeah, for anyone new watching, I'm not going to do any mini reviews of the books that were my favourites in 2015, because they're all reviewed in my sort of 2015 reading challenge videos. So if you want to see my reviews of any of these books, you can go there, apart from one. There's only one book that I didn't review that I'm going to include in this, but I think everybody knows it because it was hugely popular. Anyway, there's no particular order here because I am too fickle to have favourites. So these were just my favourite books of the year that I enjoyed reading the most and have impacted me the most. I start with the ebooks, and I'm not going to hold them up because I am terrible at holding my phone to the camera so people can see the covers, so I apologise that there are no pretty covers. They will be shown in the thumbnail, which you all have already seen. Anyway, starting off with The Peripheral by William Gibson, which is just epic, and I adored it. Second is Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie, which is just a superb science fiction. Won several awards and thoroughly deserved each and every single one. Next is A Little Life by Hana Yanagihara, which was of course on the book shortlist. Utterly heartrending and beautiful, and yeah, if you haven't read it, read it. It's amazing. Next is Signal to Noise by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is just a beautiful magical realist tale set in 1980s Mexico and present day Mexico. I loved it. You will love it. Read it. Next up is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, which is magical and surreal and beautiful all at once, and I would highly recommend it. Next is A Calculated Life by Anne Charnock. Yeah, this is one of the books I did not review. There are actually two of them, I've only just realised. And it's basically about a construct, an AI construct. They all have specialties, and the protagonist at the centre of A Calculated Life, her specialty is calculating. She starts to become curious about the world and about people and about relationships, and it's about constructing identity and about the choice we have to become individuals. It's quite heartbreaking, but it is an awesome read and I would highly recommend it. Next and final one of the ebooks is The Bird's Nest by Shirley Jackson, which is my favourite Shirley Jackson ever, and there is a review of it with me doing much talking about how awesome it is. So if you want to hear me waffle on about that for ages, go find the review. Final three books are all physical books, and the first one is the one that I mentioned that everyone will know about, and that's Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. There's a quote at the beginning of the book by a guy called Sejlo Milosh, I've probably pronounced that horrendously wrong, from the separate notebooks, and it is: "The bright side of the planet moves towards darkness, and the cities are falling asleep, each in its hour. And for me, now as then, it is too much, there is too much world." And literally, after reading the book, I went back and read that quote again because it confused me at the beginning, and I burst out crying because, yes, just yes. Next is The Slinks by Tatiana Tolskaya. I've said a lot about this in the review, so I won't repeat it, but it is an awesome book, sort of based on a lot of old Russian literature and very surrealistic and strange and weird, and it is awesome and I adored it. And finally, The Enchanted by Rene. I basically went on and on about it in the review. It is brilliant and beautiful and stunning, and I don't understand why it's not topping every bestseller list that it's going, and I don't understand why someone hasn't snapped it up to make into a movie, because it would be incredible. Finally, I'm going to talk about two runners-up. First would be Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I loved it. The final book is We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler. Just a glorious book, and if you haven't read it, read it. And like all the others that I have actually reviewed, there is a review in my 2015 reading challenge videos. Those are my favourite books and my runner-ups of 2015. And now I'm going to launch into the Booktube Newbie Tag. I'd wanted to have a YouTube channel for a while and I didn't have any reason to, and then I realised that I wanted to do a reading challenge because my reading was just sliding downhill, and I'm an author and I need my reading to be of a particular level. Writers need to read, end of. And I thought that to push myself to keep up with the challenge, I would make a video review of each book and put them up on YouTube. I also wanted to talk about my mental health issues. I'm recovering from long-term chronic mental illnesses, and yeah, just wanted to help people. I sort of read all across the board. I'm a bit of a smorgasborder when it comes to books. I read whatever takes my fancy. I definitely read more of a mix of weird and surrealistic and absurdist, and there seems to be a lot of classics reading and a lot of new releases reading, and especially a lot of YA reading, but not a lot of the weirder books out there, and I love the weirder books, so yeah. That's my fun, unique thing, that I will be reading slightly strange shit and talking about it. This channel is not new, it's a year old, but I am most excited to just keep talking about books and to keep talking about mental health and challenging stigma. Books and challenging stigma for the win, you know? Because books are amazing, because losing yourself in a fictional world has always just made me extremely happy. It is a central, vital part of my life, which is why I needed to have a book challenge last year, because the way my life was sort of working out, I wasn't finding time to read, and I need to find time to read. It's important to me. It's kind of vital. It's like breathing for me. When I'm reading, I'm happier. When I'm reading, I feel more aware and awake and alive and real in the world. So yeah, reading is awesome. This kind of relates to question 8, which we haven't got to yet, but I have been reading forever. No particular series got me into reading. I just was reading from a very, very young age, and I've sort of hopped from genre to genre. The only thing that I don't read much of is non-fiction, because I have a very short attention span. I can only read non-fiction if it's written like fiction. I find it very boring when things are written in a dry academic or informational style. Yeah, a bit ADD in that capacity, but when it comes to fiction, I read widely and have read widely and have always read widely. I would read anything I could get my hands on as a kid. Anything that was in the house, I would read. So yeah, no particular series, just books in general got me into reading. The fact that I could read them and they were there and they were awesome and transported me. Sometimes finding the time is challenging, but that's pretty much it. I started reading so early I can't even remember. All I know is that I was reading very, very well, and when I was in infant school I was ahead of my peers, and I remember an extremely embarrassing incident where I was asked to be the one to read for the class. And I don't know why the teacher forgot, but the teacher forgot that I was actually ahead of the others on a different book. And I went and got my book, and she told me off because it wasn't the book that everyone else was reading. Fortunately, it did not dissuade me from reading, but I remember feeling very, very embarrassed and upset and crying because she told me off for getting the book that I was reading. It wasn't my fault that the book that I was reading was higher than the book that everyone else was reading, you know? It's one of those things. But I was taught to read at a very young age, and I have read forever, basically. Anywhere and everywhere. Mostly I read in my bed at night, because that's the time that I find I can relax enough to just concentrate on the reading. Or I read at weekends, because if I have a free day, sometimes I can just have a day where I read, which is bliss. Or I get up before everyone else gets up and read at the weekend, which is a bit tiring because, you know, you don't want to get up early on a weekend if you don't have to. But I really enjoy being able to read the books that I'm reading and get through them, because there's nothing more frustrating than reading a good book and not having time to finish it. Oftentimes I'm really naughty and I stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning just to finish a book, which is just stupid because I have to get up early, but there you go. No regrets, none whatsoever. Books are worth it. Apart from non-fiction, like I said, I will read anything. Literally anything. My favourite kind of books, ever, are books with a kind of surrealistic, slightly off-kilter to the world, poetic, lyrical sort of aspect to them. I love, for that reason, the slightly less easy to shoehorn literary books, the ones that are literary but not dry and dull and about the boring lives of wealthy people who talk endlessly about their shit. That kind of book bores the crap out of me because it is boring. It's like, seriously, why do they write about that? What is interesting about the internal lives and woes and struggles of, you know, white middle class people? It's not interesting. Whereas things like A Tale for the Time Being, that come at the querying of things the way literary books do, in a particularly sort of sideways fashion, they really appeal to me. I love them more than anything, and I have a vast list that I want to read this year. Well, it's not vast, but... and I'm forever looking for more books like that. So if you know any books like that, pop them in the down below. I may have read them, but there may be ones that I haven't read, and I am always on the lookout for more. Anyway, so that's me. I am Ren, welcome to my channel. If you are here for just bookish stuff, there will be a new bookish video every Friday unless circumstances intervene. And if you are here for mental health stuff, there is a mental health video every other Monday. So yeah, I hope you'll tune in and keep watching, and thank you for watching today.